I think we could watch that over and over again. It's a sight that just really never gets old, does it? Just a week ago, the KU men's basketball team grabbed that national title in New Orleans. It takes a lot to keep those guys right there, healthy and ready for play and in shape, especially as they head into those championship games. This morning, we're going to meet part of that winning team behind the scenes. They are part of Kansas Team Health. Some of them here proudly pictured with that NCAA trophy that they helped the team bring back to Lawrence. It is a big group team effort. What it took to make the magic happen, coming up now on the Morning Medical Update. And good morning, everyone. It is April 12th. Yeah, thanks for joining us here on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. Coming up a little bit later, the 3 must-haves if you need to seek shelter during severe weather season. Can you guess what they are? How well do you know your severe weather season needs? You can put your answer in the chat, and we're going to test you and see if you know. Coming up at 8:15, Dr. Hawkinson's here in the house. He's going to join us with the COVID count. But first, some could call them really the true all-stars of the Jayhawks men's basketball team, Kansas Team Health. They are the folks who make sure that the players stay well and stay healthy. So please get your questions sent into us on YouTube, Facebook, and on the Medical News Network. You can find links to those right there on your screen. All right, we're going to show you this guy right here. Yeah, kind of laying low there, celebrating his team's big NCAA win last week. Today, we talk with the other part of the team, the ones behind the scenes who keep those athletes going strong. Joining us with more on Kansas Team Health is KU Chancellor Dr. Doug Girod. He is joining us this morning along with Dr. Jeffrey Randall, orthopedic surgeon and head team physician with Kansas Team Health, and Dr. Jared Harrell, head primary team physician with Kansas Team Health. Gentlemen, so glad you're with us today. Thank you so much. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
You bet. Okay, so I got to go around the room here if I can. Dr. Girod, I'll start with you. How does it feel? Has it really sunk in? What's the tone? Has everybody come down from the high, or are we just riding it?
I think we're still riding it right now, to be honest. I think everybody's still very excited, and I think the parade Sunday kind of helped seal it and bring everybody home. But it's such a remarkable accomplishment, and it's so difficult to make it all the way through to the end. We were talking about it this morning. Just so many things have to fall in place. The team's got to be healthy when they get towards the end. They got to be confident. They got to be gelling, and just things have to fall your way. And we saw a couple of incredible comebacks that really demonstrated their confidence of playing together. And it's just so hard to do that. That's why it's been 14 years. Our coaches had some incredible teams in those 14 years, but this one brought it home.
Yeah, we were ready to see it happen. 14 years in the making. Dr. Harrell, welcome this morning. Has it sunk in for you?
Thank you. I think the parade definitely kind of helped make this feel more realistic. It was a very unique experience traveling back with the team after the championship, but I think everybody was still kind of letting that soak in. But going down Mass Street on Sunday, certainly with the fan reactions and seeing how the players got to react to that, I think really kind of brought it home for me how big a deal this year was. It's obviously national championships are really hard to come by, and as Dr. Girod just mentioned, it's no matter how good you are, there's a lot of things that have to go right, but that was a pretty special experience.
Dr. Randall, how are you feeling? Coming down from your high, what was it like standing next to that trophy?
It was a blast and really surreal. And I think this one was much more unexpected than the one even in 2008. If you just kind of looked at the teams and looked at the records, I think 2008 people expected to win. I think this year we were pleasantly surprised to get all the way through, to be honest with you. So it's a great feeling that I'm sure will carry into the summer and the fall.
Dr. Girod, just explain to people what Kansas Team Health is. What is their role when it comes to the players?
Sure. Our Kansas Team Health group is a relatively innovative group in that it's a partnership between our KU athletics department and all their staff with University of Kansas Health System Sports Medicine and Lawrence Memorial Health sports teams coming together to really provide world-class care for our student athletes in all our sports, and doing so with really bringing the latest technology expertise to the table in a way that, and providing incredible oversight for our team in a way that really, not sure it's been replicated anywhere else in the country at this point in time. And of course, that lets us bring the expertise that also takes care of the Royals and the Chiefs to our Jayhawk athletes. And that's really exciting for them as well, and provides great confidence both to the athletes and their parents.
Dr. Harrell and Dr. Randall, and Dr. Harrell, I'll start with you. Just, and you've touched on it as far as, not all players are created equal. Not all teams are created equal. Everyone is different. So what does it take to keep elite athletes like this conditioned and on the right track to a championship game like this?
Well, I think it starts with good preseason planning and a commitment to kind of the fundamentals, right? With nutrition and rest, recovery periods, stressing how important that is to get them through the season and getting buy-in, with the athletes, especially those that are new to any program or team. And this year in particular with our second year with dealing with pandemic, as far as generally speaking, the world. I just started here in December, so I can't speak to what it was like last year for them. But there's a whole lot of discipline and effort that was required to stay the course, stay healthy, and really sticking to those fundamentals of nutrition and sleep and recovery.
Yeah, Dr. Randall, similar question. We talk about the discipline. Specifically, what type of discipline? It's a whole new level, a whole other level. We can all say we're disciplined, but this is a different type. What does it take?
I think the discipline starts with the commitment of the entire team. And by team, I don't just mean the players. It's a team effort with strength and conditioning, with nutrition, with our athletic trainers, with the coaches. No team goes through a season uninjured, and it takes a big group effort to kind of manage those injuries. And you saw it a lot in the tournament. A lot of the teams we played, unfortunately, lost people just directly before we played them. We were very fortunate this year, and that's usually the case with the team that wins, that we had our typical through-season injuries that were managed along the way, with the goal always being to peak in March and have everybody at their ultimate health, where you can get them ready to play in March. And you kind of time it out that way, which takes a lot of people, a lot of factors, the discipline from the players. Sometimes they want to play and you don't want them to play because you're trying to focus on getting them ready for when you really need them. So it's actually a lot more complicated than it may seem on the surface, but we have a tremendous staff. Our athletic trainers, Bill Cowgill, Samantha Thomas, that work directly with men's basketball, been doing this. Bill's been doing this since Coach Self's been here. So we have a lot of experience together, and there's a lot of trust, and those things really make it all happen at the right time. And this year, if you followed the newspaper or TV, you saw a lot of guys missing time, but things really came together at the right time for us.
What role does mental health play in this? Just the mental aspect of playing a game at this level. How does that relate back to the health on the court?
I guess I can jump in with that one, but mental health in college athletics is probably right now one of our top focuses, and the mental health of dealing with injuries. A lot of times you'll deal with a player that has a relatively minor injury, but he or she may not have had an injury before, so they're not sure, and they start questioning, will I recover? Will this be okay? And that's where the trust and confidence comes in. And I think working with coaches for a long time, and having coaches that have a good understanding and support of our healthcare system and with the Kansas Team Health System, it helps the athlete mentally be able to accept their injury, trust, and understand that, our number one job is to have them healthy when they're older, not healthy for the championship game, but healthy for life. And so that's always our number one priority. And then number two, you have to understand that in athletics and contact sports and collision sports like basketball, for example, you're going to have injuries. And a lot of our job is determining, what's safe and not safe, looking at those long-term goals and then managing the short-term goals to optimize the timing.
Dr. Gerard, I'm not going to miss a chance to talk about mental health. And when we're talking about students, I mean, yeah, they're the champions, but they're also students, and they're young men and young women who compete at this level. So I want to go around and ask you as well, just your thoughts about just putting that at such a high priority, especially as we come out of a pandemic, at the height of a pandemic, and just mental issues that the kids have had to deal with through all this. So I just look back and think how remarkable it is that, at the end of this 2 years of COVID, that, we're celebrating with a championship. So just how important is that mental health comes before basketball?
Well, we've certainly seen a demand for mental health services within our student population growing, honestly, exponentially, even pre-pandemic. And then, as you pointed out, as we've now spent 2 years in this pandemic, and particularly that first year of lockdown and isolation, which is true for our athletes as much as it was for the rest of our students, put a tremendous stress on everyone, faculty, staff, and students, but certainly manifested significantly through students. And so it's been a very big focus for us to try and figure out how to expand our services, our resources, taking that virtual when needed, thinking about how we can do that more broadly across our student population. And certainly, as you pointed out, in this case, the men's basketball team, these young men, life happens too while you're going on. There's illness within the family, there's tragedies that happen, there's so many things that happen in life just generally that gets layered onto the tension of preparing and performing at this highest level that I think it's really quite remarkable how these young men have come through it.
And Dr. Harrell, just your comments on that. I mean, is it any surprise to you that, again, going through the last couple of years of a pandemic with everything, as Dr. Gerard mentioned, so many other things going on in people's lives, that they're able to pull this off? I mean, what does that say about this team and how they were physically and mentally prepared?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about certainly the coaching staff, the members on the team, as Dr. Randall mentioned, Billy Calgill and Sammy, that did such a great job of keeping a pulse on what was going on, and understanding how important that mental aspect was, knowing when to give people a break or support. I mean, I would say, just looking back at the last several weeks, probably 25% of my job is dedicated to some component of the mental health platform, which seems incredible as a sports physician, that that much emphasis is put on really the comprehensive nature of what that mental health platform looks like, and it's incredible to see how much that is embraced by the athletes as well. I think there was a time, maybe that wasn't the case, but I can't tell you how many times, even student athletes initiate that with their awareness of the importance of their health and their performance, and what, the sort of comprehensive sports psychology platform looks like. And so anyway, it speaks volumes to the individuals, to the organization, and some of those key members within the program.
Speaks volumes to the work that you all are doing.
And I think it really speaks to the resiliency of these young folks and the support system around them.
Mm-hmm. Good, very good point. I mean, there's very few things that people love more than Jayhawk basketball here in this state, but our kids and making sure they're healthy has to be number one. We're going to get to some community questions for you guys here in just a moment. We want to take a quick look at the Mass Street Parade from past Sunday in Lawrence. If we can take a look at some photos. Doctors, this was you guys in the car before the parade. So this was all for you as well, and making sure we brought that trophy home safe and sound. So that parade ran 13 blocks from 6th to 19th Street there along Mass Street. The community lined up, followed the team. They made their way down. So much celebration, little autographs, there's a little self, lots of young people, kind of young and old. It was so great. Great to finally see that. Like you said, 14 years in the making. A lot of smiles, a lot of tears, a lot of celebration. So very cool to see. We're going to get to community questions here in a second. Well, okay, we can take one. And actually, Dr. Hawkinson, it's for you. So Nada wants to know, would it be better when I get my second booster to switch People are wondering about the big switch.
Yeah.
Example, Pfizer prior to Moderna for my second booster.
Yeah, right now there's no recommendation. If you've had the mRNA vaccines to start with and get your boost, there's no reason to switch. Now, if you do go to a facility and they don't have the mRNA company that you originally got your vaccine with, you can switch to that other company with mRNAs, but you don't need to switch to another platform. You can stick with those mRNA with the mRNA platform, and you don't necessarily need to switch companies either. You are able to if they don't have the other one in stock. If you receive the Johnson & Johnson, it is recommended to get an mRNA vaccine for those booster doses, however.
All right, we are going to get to some more community questions for our guest today, but Dr. Hawkinson, can we just jump in and take a look at our COVID count real quick?
Yeah, right now the cases are down into the single digits. We have 5 active infections, 1 in the ICU, 1 on the ventilator, 44 in that recovery period. And again, starting last week, we did switch from testing everybody that comes into the hospital with a PCR test to look for the virus, only going to those that are suspected, or if for another reason the physician wants that person to be tested. So I think that's playing a little bit of a role. But Jess, what we know is that some larger cities on the East Coast now have started to either continue mask mandates or institute new mask mandates, either for children or for everybody in indoor spaces. That is due because we have seen a rise in cases. As of right now, we haven't seen a rise in hospitalizations in those communities, so that is a very good thing. So we have to keep our eyes on what's going on as far as number of cases. But again, I think more of the story of rather than cases is hospitalizations, hopefully with enough vaccinations, up-to-date vaccinations, prior infections, we can gain that immunity as a population and really keep the hospitals from being overwhelmed as they were in this last Delta and Omicron surge.
A few COVID headlines I want to get to with you, if you wouldn't mind. Just what's the latest and what is the latest information on the BA2 variant?
Yeah, there really hasn't been much out about the virology of BA2, meaning exactly what the virus is doing. We've heard it's more transmissible than Omicron. We know that Omicron, they said, is less severe. Again, that is in the context of the Delta variant, which you did have an increased risk of hospitalization and severe disease. But even throughout all the variants, even with the original Wuhan isolate, we know that they can still all cause very bad disease, severe disease, hospitalization. But right now for BA2, other than really just the notion that people are saying it's more transmissible, we know it has displaced all the other variants in the United States. It is currently the most populous variant, the predominant variant around. But as far as the virology and the disease it causes, it's really not that much different from Omicron from what I have seen in the literature.
And what can you tell us? There was a recent study out of Israel finding that the second booster provides limited protection. What do we know about that?
The second booster, there was an article in New England Journal of Medicine last week, and that is based on that data. That was a lot of the information that the FDA used to okay that second booster dose, because it looked like it did have increased protection against hospitalization. Now, even if you've had your third dose, we know that you are still well protected, against hospitalization, severe disease, and death, in that mid-70s area. But if you get that booster dose, you are even more protected. And I think on an individual basis, especially if you have those comorbid conditions or age, things like that, if you can do anything you can to protect yourself from hospitalization, getting that fourth dose is a good thing. So I think if that's what you're referring to, that is the study out of Israel looking at third dose versus fourth dose, and that was a lot of the impetus as to why the FDA okayed the go-ahead for that fourth dose for 50 and above. But it still remains efficacious. Even with the third dose, you still have good efficacy against hospitalization, severe disease, and death.
All right. Do COVID home tests, do they expire, and when?
Yeah. So another good question, because we know a lot of people have been ordering tests. There are expiration dates on this. A lot of this is regulatory. A lot of this is based on we don't know enough information yet, and so we are putting, say a 6-month expiration date. We have seen, however, the FDA has gone back now that we have more time from those home tests and actually increase the expiration time. So Some people expect these tests to be able to work for 2 years, but a lot of it's regulatory, and a lot of it is the fact that we just don't have the data to use. So there are expiration dates on those tests, and you are always able to go to that company website and look at the stock number to see if the FDA has increased those expiration dates from the original dates that were set.
We do have a few community questions for you. I'm going to get back with you here in just a moment, but I want to reintroduce you, if you're just now joining us, to KU Chancellor Dr. Doug Girard, also Kansas Team Health's Dr. Jeffrey Randall, orthopedic surgeon and head team physician, and Dr. Jared Harrell, he's head primary team physician. So we're so glad they are with us today. So I'm going to just throw this out there, but now we kind of want to know the inside, behind the scenes scoop, if we can, about how we kept the athletes healthy, and tell us what the COVID factor was. Were they being tested? Was it just playing it safe? How did that all come into play?
Yeah, there was some testing. Obviously, throughout the season, that changed. So there was more intensive testing earlier in the year, and as things changed, we went to more surveillance testing and symptomatic testing, and then as we got tournament time, some of those were lifted as well. There were certain individuals that had to be tested and attested to that prior to entering the site. But there was, again, a testament to this team that there was a whole lot of changes, and it was a very fluid situation as far as what needed to happen from a COVID surveillance and testing standpoint. And they did a great job with that.
All right, inquiring minds want to know what these players eat to get ready. What is their diet like? Because when I think of a college kid, I'm thinking Cheetos and Twinkies and pizza at midnight and all the things that, all the things your mom says don't eat. So do they take their nutrition and their diet seriously? And are they hydrated and doing all the things they're supposed to do?
Yeah, I like to eat, so I'll answer that. So we have a whole nutritional staff that's outstanding. And in general, all of our teams, typically, including basketball, football, eat 4 hours before the game. So that's when their pregame meal is. But their nutrition is measured, calculated, and coordinated throughout the week. The one time they get a break on that, they typically, as far as what they exactly eat, before a game, it's pretty good. It's heavy protein. They'll have steak, they'll have chicken, salmon. That's kind of always on the menu. There's always pasta, like spaghetti, with different meat sauces. They have a salad bar. Believe it or not, some guys really like the salad bar, and they kind of know what they eat. So they have a combination of kind of heavy protein and pasta 4 hours before. After the game, it's a little bit more fun. If we're on the road, there's usually venues that have specialties. When we're at Baylor, we always get these kind of jalapeno wrapped chicken poppers that are fried with bacon. There'll be things like Coach Self in Stillwater likes Hideaway Pizza, so we always get Hideaway Pizza in Stillwater. In Texas, Whataburger's popular. So post-game, it'll be a combination of kind of fast food, Chick-fil-A, pizza, that sort of stuff. Pre-game and throughout the week, it's very measured and calculated, and they do eat well.
Oh, okay, good. I'm so glad that you're feeding them well before and that they get to have a little bit of fun afterwards. And I love how you make your rounds and have all your little rituals and, traditions of hitting all those good, yummy spots. So good to know. Okay, thanks for that insight. Dr. Harrell, there were so many kids out there watching that game, watching the parade. There's just so much that goes into it. I mean, all these young aspiring athletes, just what message would you have for a young athlete looking now, if they were to jump ahead 10 years from now and wanting to get on that big national stage, being able to play at that level? What advice would you give them?
Well, I suppose it may be cliche, but one thing that was really cool to watch with this team as it sort of evolved over the year was the being good teammates. And there was really an evolution of how and why different players were asked to do things. But it brings up the bigger issue there, and that's at the end of the day, if as part of a team, sometimes you can't do or shouldn't do the things that are in your best interest, but that of the team and the organization. And so simply put, I would say, and I try to talk to my 5-year-old about this on a very regular basis. We have some work to do yet, but it's being a good teammate. It's understanding what the the role that you serve on that, but ultimately it's the goal of the team, and that's a lot more fun than necessarily your personal accolades.
I agree. And it lasts a lifetime. It never hurts to just be a good old person. That'll stick with you for a lifetime. So very good advice. Real quick, do we have any reporter questions on the line? Okay, we are good. So Dr. Gerard, same question to you. What advice would you have for those kids that were cheering on the Jayhawks out at the parade and that sat there a little too close to the TV last week, getting excited? What should they know up and coming?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think you saw that sort of anything's possible if you put your mind to it and you commit to it. And it was so wonderful, actually, to see a handful of really local athletes on that team, right? You got Kansas City, Burlington, Columbia, Missouri. I mean, just really local representation on a national championship team. And I think that really speaks to the caliber of youth athletics in our region and the infrastructure that is there to support them from Dr. Harrell's 5-year-old all the way up through that high school athlete to really let them get there and have the support and infrastructure they need to be successful at that. So obviously sticking with it, having a positive attitude and finding where your passion is. And if that's in athletics, it certainly is absolutely possible, as we just saw. If I could just comment, you talked a little bit about COVID and how that impacted this season. And if you really think about it, it was a bit of a roller coaster this season. We started out in the fall with the Delta variant surge and had to adjust to that coming off a pretty healthy summer. Things settled down again, only to have Omicron come up over the holidays in January to kind of go into a whole new phase of not full lockdown, but certainly a big adjustment there, and then coming back out of that to where, fortunately, we were able to see a pretty wide open tournament from a participation perspective. But that's quite a roller coaster for everybody to handle going through all that. And once again, just kudos to the whole team and Kansas Team Health, and in our case, our pandemic medical advisory team, which certainly included leadership from the University of Kansas Health System, our local campus leaders, our LMH and Douglas County leadership, really guided us through that extremely well, not just for the athletes, but really for our entire campus. So can't thank them enough for their willingness to help us through all of this.
Well, I mean, I think that's what sums up Kansas Team Health, is that, when we talk about prepping players, it's not just the athletic side, but we were prepping them during and through a pandemic, keeping them healthy and focused during that. Just from a Kansas Team Health aspect, Dr. Randall, your thoughts, your advice to up-and-comers.
It's an interesting question. One thing I'll reiterate to what Dr. Harrell said. This was my 26th season. This may have been the most polite team we've ever had. These were really, really fine young men. But we've actually done some studies through KU and through the Big 12 looking at young athletes with that question: how do I become a Division I athlete? And we've looked at sport-specific things, whether they just focus on one sport or do multiple sports. And actually, we've found that the most of the people that end up getting Division I scholarships and play at this level do play multiple sports rather than focusing on one sport. And there are a lot of variables that come into play, and some specific sports like gymnastics may have a little bit different outcome than something like basketball. But just in general, I think kids should have fun, follow their passion. Don't feel like you need to only play basketball from age 7 to your senior year to be on a team like this. Most of our athletes that we have, and even our basketball team, football team, et cetera, play multiple sports growing up. So I think just have fun, get engaged, learn to be a good teammate, and enjoy it, and be polite. It paid off this year.
It sure did. Okay, so we're going to get to some community questions. We got a few for you, gentlemen. Joellen wants to know, how do you emphasize academic goals with the team? After all, there is life after basketball. So where does the academics come in, and how is that put at a priority?
Maybe I'll start with that one.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly, that is a tremendous priority for us. These are students first, athletes second. they come to us to get a world-class education at a leading research university, and tremendous resources get put into making sure that these athletes can meet their academic needs as well as meet their athletic needs, which during March, when you're on the road as much as these folks were, really takes an entire team and a village to make that happen of tutors and support staff. And Paul Buskirk and his group just does a remarkable job. And not only was this a very polite team, this is a very academically talented team as well. When you have the likes of a David McCormick with a 4.0 GPA, I mean, this group works hard at everything they do, and they succeed in everything they do, and they recognize that that's just as important as their athletic prowess. So they go hand in hand, and I would not say one prioritizes over the other.
That's good to know. Gene wants to know any word on when the team will visit the White House?
I've just heard it's in the works. I've heard it's backed up a little bit because of COVID in terms of the number of events going on at the White House, but we are hearing that that's going to happen, and we're pretty excited about that.
Yes.
I don't know if the other gentleman, if you've got any more information than I do, but that's the latest I had, Jeff.
Yeah, same, that it's happening, just don't know exactly when.
All right. We want pictures. We want to see it all. Send them our way. Okay. Question for. Okay. So Diane wants to know, Dr. Hawkinson, do you expect a surge coming as some other places are experiencing? And there was a question about any surges based on some of the crowds and the mass gatherings because of this particular win. So maybe kind of work your way in from the coast and down here into Kansas.
You know, again, we've seen a little bit tick up of the cases, especially on the East Coast. That's why they are kind of instituting those mask mandates now. I think we would be naive not to expect another case surge. We know the virus is still out there in some low level or even some moderate level right now in any particular place in the United States. When you do have masks off, no restrictions, and you are having gatherings, you know, again, we talked about graduation season, prom season, wedding season, those things, a lot of those things are going to be held indoors, and that is going to be higher risk. Now, when you have things like outdoor venues, you know, much safer. I don't think we'll see necessarily surges from that. We've always talked about being outdoors in the ventilation and the turbulent airflow. Always good. Those indoor gathering spaces, when we're getting into it, even though the weather is getting nicer, like I said, you are typically having more get-togethers now in this part of the year. I think we would be naive not to expect a surge in cases. But I think the thing that we really need to look at is the hospitalizations. And currently, the hospitalizations continue to go down. We do know that hospitalizations lag behind cases. But hopefully with what we've had with vaccinations and infections, reinfections, hopefully the population immunity as a whole, and especially your individual immunity if you've been vaccinated up to date and or infected with vaccination, that will protect you from going to the hospital. So that is what we really need to continue to monitor. But overall, yeah, I think it would be naive not to expect another surge in cases.
Dr. Girard, I saw you kind of shaking your head. Any concerns or comments on your end?
Well, I think just as Hawkeye said, I think we need to track it. We know it's probably coming. We saw it in Europe. It's starting to hit the East Coast. It probably will work its way our direction in the next handful of weeks. But again, you know, when we really think about how we tried to manage our way through this entire pandemic, it's really been all about making sure we don't allow our health systems to get overrun, and that they can still provide the care that they need to the general population, in addition to managing our way through the pandemic. And with the advent of the vaccinations and the boosters and some natural immunity in the community, you know, the hope is that even though we're going to get some cases, we don't see that big influx into the hospitals, so we can still take care of the people we need to. And of course, those who are at highest risk need to pay particular attention and take best care of themselves, get the extra booster when they're ready for it, and protect themselves as these things happen. But in general, we just have to make sure our hospitals can handle what they need to handle.
Last question is from Nancy, and Dr. Randall, maybe I'll just start with you. She wants to know, would other college teams benefit by following your lead? So are there other Kansas team healths all over the country making things happen the way that you are? And would other people benefit by doing what you're doing?
You know, we do all get together and talk about these things. When I say we, meaning a lot of the Power Five schools, we meet as a conference. The Big 12 physicians meet, the trainers meet independently, the physicians meet once a year in the summer, and we talk about things like this. How do we develop better independent medical models? We review injuries and how we treated them. So it's a big collaborative effect, not just at KU and Kansas Team Health, but through the Big 12 conference. And then the conferences themselves talk to each other. We talk to our colleagues in the Big 10, the SEC, the ACC, the Pac-12 about specifically our medical models, how we deliver care, and even down to how we treat specific injuries. So I think Kansas Team Health has been real innovative, and there are similar models popping up. I get a lot of emails and questions from different people around the country, and how are things going and how we're doing it and how we can do it better. But it's a learning curve doing something new, but I think it's been tremendous and a real benefit for the athletes.
Yeah, very successful. I can't get you to brag on yourself that much. I know it's hard, but Dr. Harrell, what are you guys doing so right? How could other people follow your lead?
Well, so NCAA kind of has a description of 5 different medical models. I suppose there's a couple other descriptors, but really 5. And the one that we're implementing and involved with here is more of the athlete-centered model. Independent models Dr. Randall mentioned. The reality is we're really fortunate to have the University of Kansas Health Center and LMH as incredible resources. I'm not sure that every university or college would even have the opportunity to have the kind of talent and resources that we have access to. And I think that's why you see everybody so proud of what we're doing here is. We know that if we have an issue at any level, we can put a clinician of excellence in front of that athlete in real time, quick time to get them world-class care with a single phone call and either a trip here in town or a quick trip over to Kansas City, which is a pretty special opportunity. So I'm not suggest other people aren't doing a great job in that. But I certainly want to recognize that we have a unique opportunity here with the talent and resources that we have.
It's kind of the secret sauce. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dr. Gerard, I'm going to have you just share your final thoughts with us and just what you want us to know about Kansas Team Health and maybe.
Sure. So I think, we really designed this model coming off of some challenges around the country when we saw some unfortunate student athlete deaths and poor outcomes, and really questioned why those things are able to happen, and some of them are not preventable, but some we think were, and really thought that this independent medical model for us, and leveraging the incredible expertise that we have between 2 health systems in this region, was a unique opportunity for us. And I think it's really demonstrated to be exactly that. And it's not just medical, it's all the way down to the weight training and the conditioning staff, which is critical and the nutrition staff, because that whole team really who's responsible for that athlete day in and day out. And so being comprehensive about it was really important to us. I would echo that not everybody has the ability to do that given where they're located. And so different models are out there. But I think there's a recognition, certainly a recognition at the NCAA level that sort of the independent medical model in some form is probably most prudent for our student athletes.
Dr. Harrell, final thought?
Well, I'd like to take time to give Dr. Hawkinson a shout out for all his help. I came in early December as some of the surges were starting to occur, and want to give him a special thanks for his expertise and willingness to help us navigate through some very challenging times. We knew this was an important part of the year. We knew this was a good team, and we want to make sure that we were doing our best to not screw that up. And so I just want to say thank you to Dr. Hawkinson today.
Very nice. Dr. Randall, final thoughts?
Well, thanks for having us. And I think just to kind of echo a little bit what was said, we're fortunate that we're in a unique position with Kansas Team Health that we have a chancellor with the background that he has, coming from the University of Kansas Medical Center to the undergrad campus, is really a unique situation, which allows us to be a little bit more creative and inventive, because we have that knowledge from the top of what it takes to deliver healthcare. So that's been a tremendous benefit to our athletes.
Thank you to all three of you for being with us today. Congratulations and great work getting that trophy back here to Kansas. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Hawkinson.
Well, I was actually going to thank Dr. Harrell and
I
Dr.
figured.
Randall as well. Having worked with them recently and just understanding some of their day-to-day issues and what they go through, and their prime goal to keep everybody healthy. And also, again, congratulations to the whole team. It has been a team effort. Also like to thank Brian Conway, who works with the athletics as well. And then I'd like to echo Dr. Randall's statements about Dr. Gerard. He's been a positive influence, moving the university in the correct direction, the right direction, the whole way through the pandemic, trying to keep the whole community of Lawrence healthy, doing the right things for the students and the university. It's always good having him here on the show and listening to him, and his insights today were great as well. So thank you.
Thanks to all of you, all of our doctors. Okay, so from basketball and COVID, now we're talking weather. Now it's time for the weather report. Some severe weather is possible this afternoon and later on tonight. We're taking a quick live look at downtown Kansas City. Later on this afternoon and tonight, there might be a chance of some hail. Okay, that's just yucky. That is gloomy. That looks like crawling back in bed weather right there. So there may be some thunderstorms and some slight risk of tornadoes. But we have that information and ways to get your emergency kits prepared ahead of severe weather season. So we're going to be talking about that right this minute. Andy Marshall, he is the Emergency Preparedness Manager here at the health system. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Sitting here with me all day. So finally getting around to you. So our first question, what are the top three things that everyone right now should have in some type of kit to get ready in the event of severe weather?
Yeah, so there's lots of items that you can put into a preparedness kit. Few of the items that folks don't think about are actually your shoes, heavy blankets, battery backups for your phone, or your weather radio if you have it. That way you can stay in communication. But a lot of times folks, especially those nighttime storms, they don't think about putting their shoes in their sheltering locations. If you are incidentally hit with severe weather and you're impacted, you're going to want to be able to get out of there.
Do you think people in this area take severe weather seriously? I mean, we know we live in the zone, but it seems like every year it comes around and we then are thinking, okay, how would I get ready? So that's what we're doing right now. Now is your chance to get ready. So what do you want people to know if they think, okay, I'm going to go out today and gather my things? Should they keep it like in a box? Where should they keep it in their house so it has easy access? Tell us the scoop.
Yeah, so one of the good things about Kansas City, we have a great healthcare coalition. So you could go out to preparemetrokc.com, and there's an entire list of items for get a kit. But, food, water, emergency supplies like that. But I think the bigger thing is identifying your sheltering locations, pre-planning, getting all of those items into your sheltering locations and being prepared and ready, and then sharing that information with your family and maybe even drilling.
With your kids.
With your kids, yeah.
Yeah, help us through that. My 5-year-old came home last week, and they're talking about getting out of a fire, out of a home and a fire. So we had to have a little family meeting on where we're going to meet and how we're going to do it and how we're going to get low. And do the same thing with your family, right? Have a meeting spot, and then where to go in the basement. Anything about that? We talk about tornadoes. That's scary.
Yeah, tornadoes. The kind of seems to be the common theme amongst the severe weather in the metro. Finding your sheltering location, telling your kids, this is where we're going to go. If you hear us yelling, come down here. You have to plan for both cases, whether you can go get them or if you can get them to come to you. Especially on those night storms, having some kind of emergency alert system. So our phones are great resources. They have the emergency broadcast system. They will tell you if there's a tornado warning. But also having a weather radio that could alert in the middle of the night just to help wake up the family. It's time to take shelter.
Right. And a lot of times there's a lot of false starts. I mean, you go to the basement, nothing happens. So you do that over year after year. And people think, how real serious is it? But you got to have this is serious. Get downstairs. Just really quick, because we talk about night storms. You did mention, so anything different, extra, we should take precaution regarding Staying safe at nighttime. You said shoes.
Yeah, shoes, heavy blankets. I think the biggest thing is identifying ahead of time. That way, unless you're Dr. Hawkinson and you're used to being woken up in the middle of the night all the time, you are going to wake up, you're going to be kind of groggy, you're not going to know what's going on, and then you're going to stumble into your sheltering location.
Right.
So pre-plan, stage all of your equipment there if you need it. That way you don't have to think about it. It's time to go, I'm going. And you can get to that shelter location and get kind of settled in and access your equipment and supplies.
Awesome. Andy, you're like our resident meteorologist. Love it.
Nope, I don't want to claim that one.
You're going to claim that one. Thank you so much, though. It's just a really good reminder.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thank you very much. Okay, another reminder. Mother's Day is just about a month away, and we want to hear some of your ideas. We need ideas. Send them in. There's a QR code right there on your screen. You can send us a quick video or one of your favorite gifts or maybe what you're hoping to get this year. You can also email us here at the Medical News Network at kumc.edu. The address is right there on your screen, or again, check out that QR code. And thank you so much for being with us today. Don't forget, you can catch our show anytime by logging on to Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Have a great day.
Black women are 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. I'm Alexis Del Cid. Join Dr. Stites this Wednesday at 8 a.m. Find out why and what's being done in the Metro to save lives.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and open mics with Dr. Stites podcasts. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.